Chapter 1: Origins of the Werewolf Myth. The werewolf, a creature both terrifying and tragically human, has stalked the shadowy recesses of human imagination for millennia. Its image, a chilling blend of man and beast, has been a potent source of fear and fascination across cultures and centuries. But where did this fearsome figure originate? How did the notion of a human transforming into a wolf take root in the collective psyche of humanity? This chapter sets out to explore the ancient roots of the werewolf myth, tracing its origins from early shamanistic rituals to the legends of Greece and Rome, thus laying the groundwork for understanding the evolution of this enduring myth. The wolf in folklore and mythology. To comprehend the werewolf, we must first understand the wolf. This apex predator, with its nocturnal habits, haunting howls, and capacity for violence, has long evoked a mixture of awe and dread. In many cultures, the wolf was seen not merely as a dangerous animal, but as a symbol of power, cunning, and a connection to the wild, untamed forces of nature. This complex and often contradictory symbolism laid the foundation for the werewolf myth. In early societies, where the line between the human and natural worlds was often blurred, the wolf held a prominent place in folklore and mythology. For instance, in Norse mythology, the god Odin was accompanied by two wolves, Jerry and Freki, symbolizing his connection to the untamed wilderness. In Roman mythology, the she-wolf Lupa suckled the founders of Rome, Romulus and Remus, illustrating the wolf's association with both nurturing and ferocity. These myths, along with countless folktales and legends, reinforced the wolf's image as a creature of duality, both feared and revered, a potent symbol of both the darkness and the power of nature. Shamanism and the belief in shape-shifting. Another crucial element in the genesis of the werewolf myth is the ancient practice of shamanism. Shamans, often regarded as spiritual intermediaries between the human and spirit worlds, were believed to possess the ability to traverse these realms, often through ritualistic trance states and the use of psychoactive substances. Central to many shamanistic traditions was the belief in shape-shifting, the ability to transform into animals, particularly those perceived as possessing spiritual power or embodying specific qualities. In cultures where wolves were revered for their strength and cunning, it is unsurprising that shamans might seek to emulate these qualities by transforming into wolves. Such transformations, often achieved through ritual and trance, were seen as a way to access the wolf's power, to gain its keen senses and predatory instincts. These shamanistic practices, though shrouded in mystery and ritual, may have served as a prototype for the later concept of the werewolf, a human capable of transforming into a wolf at will. Early werewolf myths, Greece, Rome, and beyond. While the exact origins of the werewolf myth remain obscured by the mists of time, we can identify early instances of tales involving humans transforming into wolves in the ancient civilizations of Greece and Rome. In Greek mythology, the story of Lycaon, king of Arcadia, is particularly relevant. Lycaon, known for his cruelty and impiety, tested Zeus by serving him the flesh of a human child. Enraged, Zeus transformed Lycaon into a wolf, a punishment befitting his savage nature. This myth, with its clear moral message, illustrates the early association of the werewolf with transgression and divine punishment. In Roman literature, the poet Ovid, in his epic poem, Metamorphoses, recounts the tale of a man named Lycaon who transforms into a wolf during a ritual dedicated to Zeus Lycius. This story, while less overtly moralistic than the Lycaon myth, further establishes the connection between wolves, transformation, and the divine. Beyond Greece and Rome, other cultures contributed their own unique interpretations of the werewolf myth. In Norse mythology, the berserkers, fierce warriors said to be possessed by the spirit of the bear or wolf, displayed traits associated with werewolves, such as heightened aggression and animalistic ferocity. These tales, while not explicitly about werewolves, suggest a broader fascination with the blurring of lines between human and animal, a central theme in the werewolf myth. Chapter 2: The Church and the Condemnation of Lycanthropy. As Christianity spread its influence across Europe during the Middle Ages, the perception of werewolves underwent a profound transformation. What had once been a figure of folklore and mythology, rooted in ancient traditions and beliefs, became entwined with the rising tide of religious fervor and the Church's growing authority. The werewolf, once a symbol of power and transformation, was recast as a monstrous embodiment of sin and heresy, a creature inextricably linked to the forces of darkness and the devil himself. This chapter delves into the complex relationship between the Church and the condemnation of lycanthropy, examining how religious doctrine and the fervor of the Inquisition shaped the dark history of the werewolf myth. The Church's stance on werewolves, a shift in perception. The early Christian Church, grappling with the remnants of pagan beliefs and practices, faced a challenge in reconciling its own doctrines with the deeply ingrained folklore and superstitions of the people it sought to convert. The werewolf, with its roots in pre-Christian traditions and its association with shape-shifting and animalistic transformation, posed a particular problem. While some early Christian theologians attempted to rationalize the werewolf myth, interpreting it as an allegory for human sin or a metaphor for the struggle between good and evil, the dominant view that emerged was one of condemnation and demonization. The Church's stance on werewolves was shaped by several key factors. Firstly, the werewolf's ability to transform into a wolf, a creature often associated with darkness and predation, was seen as a violation of the natural order established by God. This transgression was further compounded by the werewolf's propensity for violence and its association with nocturnal activities, both of which were linked to the realm of the demonic. Secondly, the werewolf's shape-shifting abilities echoed the pagan belief in shape-shifting spirits and deities, a practice explicitly condemned by the Church. The werewolf, therefore, became a symbol of paganism and heresy, a reminder of the old ways that the Church sought to eradicate. The witch hunts and the link to lycanthropy. The rise of the witch hunts in the late Middle Ages further cemented the werewolf's association with evil and the demonic. The Church, fueled by a growing fear of heresy and a desire to consolidate its authority, embarked on a campaign to root out individuals accused of witchcraft, a practice deemed to be in league with the devil. The witch hunts, characterized by mass hysteria, torture, and executions, cast a long shadow over Europe, creating an atmosphere of fear and suspicion. In this climate of paranoia, the werewolf, with its association with the supernatural and its capacity for violence, became an easy target for accusations of witchcraft. The lines between lycanthropy and witchcraft blurred, as individuals accused of one were often suspected of the other. The werewolf, once a creature of folklore, became a tool of persecution, a convenient label to attach to those deemed to be enemies of the Church or threats to the social order. The Inquisition and the persecution of werewolves. The Inquisition, the Church's judicial institution tasked with combating heresy, played a central role in the persecution of suspected werewolves. Inquisitors, armed with religious doctrine and empowered to use torture to extract confessions, conducted trials that often resulted in the condemnation and execution of those accused of lycanthropy. These trials, marked by their reliance on hearsay, superstition, and coerced confessions, offer a chilling glimpse into the dark side of religious fervor and the lengths to which the Church would go to enforce its authority. The records of these trials reveal a disturbing pattern. Accusations of lycanthropy were often leveled against individuals who were already marginalized or vulnerable, such as the poor, the mentally ill, or those who challenged the social norms. The trials themselves were often a spectacle, designed to instill fear and reinforce the Church's power. Confessions, often extracted under duress, were used to justify the most brutal punishments, including burning at the stake or being torn apart by wild animals. The demonization of the werewolf, a legacy of fear. The Church's condemnation of lycanthropy, fueled by religious doctrine and the fervor of the Inquisition, had a profound and lasting impact on the perception of the werewolf. The creature, once a figure of folklore and mythology, was irrevocably transformed into a symbol of evil, a monstrous embodiment of sin and heresy. This demonization of the werewolf created a legacy of fear that would persist for centuries, shaping the way people viewed the natural world and the boundaries between human and animal. The werewolf trials, with their brutal punishments and reliance on superstition, served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of straying from the path of righteousness. The werewolf, once a creature of transformation and power, became a chilling representation of the consequences of succumbing to temptation and the forces of darkness. This dark legacy would continue to haunt the collective imagination, influencing literature, art, and popular culture for generations to come. Chapter 3: The Werewolf Trials of France. The 16th and 17th centuries marked a particularly dark chapter in the history of the werewolf myth, a period when fear and superstition reached a fever pitch, leading to a wave of infamous werewolf trials that swept across France. This chapter focuses on these trials, delving into the specific cases, the societal factors that fueled the fear of werewolves, and the lasting impact they had on the collective psyche of the nation. From the chilling tale of the Beast of Gévaudan to the trials of individuals like Gilles Garnier and Gilles Garnier, we will explore the complex interplay of social, political, and psychological factors that contributed to the werewolf panic in France. The Beast of Gévaudan, a catalyst for fear. In the mid-18th century, the rural province of Gévaudan was gripped by terror as a series of brutal attacks attributed to a mysterious creature, known as the Beast of Gévaudan, left a trail of death and mutilation in its wake. The beast, described as a wolf-like creature of immense size and ferocity, preyed primarily on women and children, its attacks characterized by their savagery and the seemingly supernatural ability of the creature to evade capture. The Beast of Gévaudan quickly became a national sensation, its reign of terror fueling widespread panic and speculation. The creature's attacks, coupled with the inability of the authorities to apprehend it, created an atmosphere of fear and helplessness. The beast became a symbol of the unknown, a manifestation of the lurking dangers that lay beyond the boundaries of civilization. The beast's attacks also tapped into the deep-seated fears and superstitions surrounding wolves and werewolves that had been simmering for centuries. The creature's wolf-like appearance, its nocturnal habits, and its seemingly insatiable appetite for human flesh evoked the image of the werewolf, the monstrous hybrid of man and beast that had long been associated with evil and the demonic. The Beast of Gévaudan, therefore, served as a catalyst, reigniting the fear of werewolves and setting the stage for the wave of trials that would follow. Notable trials: Gilles Garnier and Gilles Garnier. The werewolf trials that swept across France in the 16th and 17th centuries were characterized by their brutality, their reliance on superstition and hearsay, and the tragic fate of those accused. Two of the most infamous cases involve Gilles Garnier and Gilles Garnier, individuals whose stories illustrate the complex interplay of social, psychological, and religious factors that contributed to the werewolf panic. Gilles Garnier, a reclusive hermit living in the French countryside, was accused of a series of brutal murders in which the victims were mutilated and partially devoured. Garnier, who confessed under torture to transforming into a wolf and committing the crimes, was convicted of lycanthropy and witchcraft and burned at the stake in 1573. His case, with its gruesome details and the public spectacle of his execution, served to reinforce the fear of werewolves and the belief in their association with witchcraft and the demonic. Gilles Garnier, a young boy from the French province of Bordeaux, was accused of being a werewolf in 1603. Garnier, who claimed to have been given a wolf's skin by a mysterious stranger, confessed to attacking and killing several children while in his wolf form. Despite his youth and the fantastical nature of his claims, Garnier was convicted of lycanthropy and sentenced to life imprisonment in a monastery. His case highlights the vulnerability of children and the ease with which they could become scapegoats for the fears and anxieties of a society gripped by werewolf hysteria. Social and political factors fueling the panic. The werewolf trials in France were not merely isolated incidents, but rather a reflection of the broader social and political climate of the time. Several factors contributed to the werewolf panic, creating a fertile ground for accusations and persecutions. Firstly, the 16th and 17th centuries were marked by religious conflict and social upheaval. The Protestant Reformation had shattered the religious unity of Europe, leading to decades of war and persecution. This atmosphere of religious tension and uncertainty created a climate of fear and suspicion, in which accusations of heresy and witchcraft were readily leveled against those perceived as threats to the established order. Secondly, The period was characterized by economic hardship and social inequality. The gap between the rich and the poor widened, leading to resentment and social unrest. In times of hardship, marginalized groups such as the poor, the mentally ill, and those living on the fringes of society often became scapegoats for the ills of society. Accusations of lycanthropy, with their association with violence and the demonic, were a convenient way to target and punish these groups. Thirdly, the belief in the supernatural and the demonic was deeply ingrained in the popular consciousness. The Church, with its emphasis on the battle between good and evil, reinforced these beliefs, creating an atmosphere in which accusations of witchcraft and lycanthropy were readily accepted. The werewolf, with its monstrous image and its association with the devil, became a potent symbol of the lurking dangers that threatened to disrupt the social order. Chapter 4: The Spread of Werewolf Hysteria in Europe. The werewolf trials that ravaged France in the 16th and 17th centuries were not an isolated phenomenon. The fear and hysteria surrounding lycanthropy spread like wildfire across Europe, igniting a series of trials and executions that left a trail of blood and terror in their wake. This chapter examines the spread of werewolf hysteria beyond France, exploring how the myth adapted to local beliefs and superstitions, and highlighting notable cases and regional variations that shaped the werewolf's dark legacy across the continent. Germany: the werewolf and the folklore of fear. In Germany, the werewolf, known as the werewolf, became deeply intertwined with the rich tapestry of folklore and superstition that permeated the rural landscape. The dense forests that covered much of the country were seen as realms of mystery and danger, inhabited by supernatural creatures and malevolent spirits. The wolf, with its association with the wilderness and its predatory nature, was a natural fit for these tales of fear and the unknown. The werewolf, like its French counterpart, was often associated with witchcraft and the demonic. Accusations of lycanthropy were frequently leveled against individuals suspected of consorting with the devil or engaging in magical practices. The trials that followed were often brutal and unjust, driven by fear and religious fervor rather than evidence or reason. One particularly chilling case involved Peter Stubbe, a farmer from the German town of Bedburg, who was accused of being a werewolf in 1589. Stubbe, under torture, confessed to a series of horrific crimes, including the murder and cannibalization of numerous victims, including his own children. He was subsequently executed in a gruesome public spectacle, his body broken on the wheel and his remains burned at the stake. Stubbe's case, with its graphic details and the fervor with which it was prosecuted, exemplifies the depths of the werewolf hysteria that gripped Germany during this period. Switzerland: the loup-garou and the Alpine legends. In Switzerland, the werewolf, known as the loup-garou, took on a unique character shaped by the rugged alpine landscape and the region's distinct cultural traditions. The loup-garou was often depicted as a solitary creature, haunting the remote mountain passes and preying on lone travelers. Its howls echoed through the valleys, instilling fear in the hearts of those who ventured into the wilderness. The Swiss werewolf trials, while less frequent than those in France or Germany, were no less brutal. Accusations of lycanthropy were often based on circumstantial evidence, fueled by superstition and the fear of the unknown. The trials themselves were often swift and merciless, resulting in the execution of those accused, often by burning or beheading. One notable case involved a man named Hans Steiner, who was accused of being a loup-garou in the 17th century. Steiner, a shepherd from the Swiss canton of Valais, was accused of attacking and killing several people, including children. Despite a lack of concrete evidence, Steiner was convicted and executed, his case serving as a reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows of the Swiss Alps. The Baltic region: the Vilcassus and the pagan echoes. In the Baltic region, the werewolf, known as the Vilcassus, was imbued with a unique blend of pagan and Christian beliefs. The Vilcassus, while feared for its ferocity and its association with the devil, was also seen as a protector of the forest and a guardian of the natural world. This duality reflected the region's complex religious landscape, where remnants of pagan traditions coexisted with the growing influence of Christianity. The werewolf trials in the Baltic region were often intertwined with accusations of witchcraft and pagan practices. Individuals suspected of vilcasus transformations were often targeted for their adherence to old beliefs or their perceived connection to the natural world. The trials, while less frequent than in other parts of Europe, were no less severe, often resulting in the execution of those accused. One particularly poignant case involved a young woman named Thais, who was accused of being a vilcasus in the 17th century. Thais, a healer and herbalist from the Estonian island of Hiiumaa, was accused of using her knowledge of plants and herbs to transform into a wolf and commit acts of violence. Despite her protestations of innocence, Thais was convicted and executed, her case highlighting the vulnerability of women and the persecution of those who dared to challenge the prevailing religious and social norms. The role of folklore and superstitions. The spread of werewolf hysteria across Europe was fueled in no small part by the rich tapestry of folklore and superstitions that permeated the cultural landscape. Tales of werewolves, passed down through generations, instilled fear and shaped the way people perceived the natural world. These stories, often rooted in local traditions and beliefs, painted a vivid picture of the werewolf as a creature of darkness, a monstrous hybrid that threatened the safety and well-being of communities. Superstitions surrounding wolves and werewolves were widespread, influencing everything from daily routines to religious practices. People avoided venturing out at night, fearing encounters with the dreaded creatures. Protective amulets and charms were worn to ward off their evil influence. Religious rituals were performed to appease the spirits and protect against their wrath. These superstitions, while often based on fear and ignorance, served to reinforce the belief in werewolves and perpetuate the cycle of hysteria. Chapter 5: The Psychology of Lycanthropy. The werewolf trials that swept across Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries, with their gruesome tales of transformation, violence, and demonic possession, may seem like relics of a bygone era of superstition and ignorance. Yet, beneath the surface of these historical accounts lies a deeper truth, a glimpse into the complex and often unsettling workings of the human mind. This chapter explores the psychology of lycanthropy, delving into the historical and modern interpretations of this phenomenon, examining the role of mass hysteria and collective delusions, and connecting the fears of the past to our current understanding of mental health. Clinical lycanthropy, the belief in transformation. At the heart of the werewolf myth lies the concept of transformation, the blurring of boundaries between human and animal. While the historical werewolf trials were often driven by superstition and religious fervor, there exists a documented psychological condition known as clinical lycanthropy, in which individuals genuinely believe they can transform into wolves or other animals. This rare condition, first described in medical literature in the 19th century, offers a fascinating window into the intersection of psychology, neurology, and the enduring power of the werewolf myth. Individuals experiencing clinical lycanthropy often report vivid sensory experiences, including the feeling of their bodies changing shape, the growth of fur or claws, and the sharpening of their senses. These transformations may be accompanied by changes in behavior, such as howling, crawling on all fours, or exhibiting aggression. While the precise causes of clinical lycanthropy remain unclear, it is often associated with underlying psychiatric conditions, such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or severe depression. The historical accounts of werewolf transformations, while often embellished and exaggerated, may, in some cases, reflect genuine experiences of clinical lycanthropy. The individuals accused of being werewolves may have suffered from undiagnosed mental health conditions that led them to believe in their own transformation and act in ways that reinforced these beliefs. The lack of understanding and the stigma surrounding mental illness in the past undoubtedly contributed to the misinterpretation of these experiences and the subsequent persecution of those affected. Mass hysteria and collective delusions, the power of suggestion. The werewolf trials, with their rapid spread and often indiscriminate accusations, also raise questions about the role of mass hysteria and collective delusions. Mass hysteria, a phenomenon in which a group of people experiences similar physical or psychological symptoms in the absence of a clear medical explanation, can be triggered by a variety of factors, including fear, anxiety, and social contagion. In the context of the werewolf trials, the fear of the unknown, the power of suggestion, and the desire to conform to social norms may have all played a role in fueling the hysteria and leading to the persecution of innocent individuals. Collective delusions, in which a group of people shares a false belief, can also contribute to the spread of hysteria and the perpetuation of myths. In the case of the werewolf trials, the belief in the existence of werewolves, reinforced by folklore, religious doctrine, and the accounts of supposed transformations, may have created a self-fulfilling prophecy in which individuals began to interpret their own experiences and those of others through the lens of the werewolf myth. This, in turn, led to further accusations and persecutions, creating a vicious cycle of fear and delusion. The historical context, mental health, and the supernatural. The werewolf trials also shed light on the historical understanding of mental health and the complex relationship between psychological distress and the supernatural. In the past, mental illness was often attributed to demonic possession or witchcraft, leading to the persecution and stigmatization of those affected. The symptoms of mental illness, such as hallucinations, delusions, and changes in behavior, were easily misinterpreted as evidence of supernatural influence or demonic possession. In the context of the werewolf trials, individuals experiencing mental health conditions may have been particularly vulnerable to accusations of lycanthropy. Their symptoms, such as the belief in transformation or the experience of heightened senses, could be easily interpreted as evidence of their supposed transformation into a wolf. The lack of understanding and the stigma surrounding mental illness in the past meant that these individuals were often denied treatment and instead subjected to persecution and punishment. The werewolf trials, therefore, serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of ignorance and the importance of recognizing the complex interplay between psychology, culture, and the human experience. They remind us that the line between reality and delusion is often blurred, and that the fear of the unknown can lead to tragic consequences. Chapter 6: Werewolves in Literature and Art. The werewolf, that captivating blend of human and beast, has not merely haunted the annals of history and the realm of psychology. Its image, both terrifying and alluring, has also left an indelible mark on the world of literature and art, evolving and adapting to the changing cultural landscape, reflecting the fears, anxieties, and fascinations of each era. This chapter traces the evolution of the werewolf in literature and art, from its early depictions in medieval manuscripts to its modern manifestations in horror fiction, film, and television. We will explore how the werewolf myth has been portrayed and reimagined over time, serving as a canvas for exploring themes of duality, transformation, and the struggle between the civilized and the wild. Medieval manuscripts, The Beast Within. The earliest depictions of werewolves in literature and art can be found in medieval manuscripts, where they often appear as monstrous figures lurking in the margins of illuminated texts or illustrating cautionary tales of sin and temptation. These early portrayals were heavily influenced by the Church's condemnation of lycanthropy, depicting werewolves as agents of the devil, their transformations a symbol of moral corruption and spiritual degradation. The werewolf's association with the demonic was often visually reinforced through its depiction as a grotesque hybrid, combining human and wolf-like features in a disturbing and unnatural manner. The creature's fangs, claws, and matted fur served as visual cues for its savage nature, while its distorted human face hinted at the tragic loss of humanity that accompanied the transformation. These early portrayals of werewolves in medieval manuscripts served not only as illustrations of religious narratives, but also as a means of reinforcing social and moral norms. The werewolf, with its association with sin and the demonic, served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the consequences of straying from the path of righteousness and succumbing to temptation. The creature's monstrous image, etched in the margins of sacred texts, served as a constant reminder of the lurking dangers that threatened to disrupt the social order and the importance of adhering to the Church's teachings. Gothic literature, the romantic werewolf. The rise of Gothic literature in the 18th and 19th centuries brought a new dimension to the portrayal of werewolves. The Gothic, with its emphasis on the macabre, the supernatural, and the exploration of the darker side of human nature, provided a fertile ground for the werewolf myth to flourish. In the hands of Gothic writers, the werewolf transformed from a purely monstrous figure into a more complex and nuanced character, often embodying themes of duality, inner conflict, and the struggle between the civilized and the wild. One of the most iconic examples of the Gothic werewolf can be found in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, where the creature, though not explicitly a werewolf, shares many of its characteristics. The creature, like the werewolf, is a hybrid, a monstrous blend of human and animal parts. It is both feared and pitied, its violent outbursts a reflection of its own inner turmoil and its rejection by society. The Gothic werewolf, while still a creature of fear and violence, also became a symbol of the romantic fascination with the sublime, the awe-inspiring power of nature, and the untamed passions that lurked beneath the veneer of civilization. The werewolf's transformation, often triggered by the full moon, represented a liberation from the constraints of society and a return to a more primal state of being. This romanticized image of the werewolf, while still tinged with danger and darkness, offered a glimpse into the wild and untamed aspects of human nature that the Gothic writers sought to explore. Modern horror, the werewolf's resurgence. The 20th and 21st centuries witnessed a resurgence of the werewolf in popular culture, particularly in the realm of horror fiction, film, and television. The werewolf, with its blend of human and animal, its association with transformation and violence, and its ability to tap into primal fears, proved to be a perfect fit for the horror genre. In modern horror, the werewolf has been reimagined and reinterpreted in countless ways, reflecting the changing anxieties and preoccupations of each era. From the classic Universal monster movies of the 1930s and 1940s, with their emphasis on the tragic duality of the werewolf, to the more recent teen wolf dramas and urban fantasy novels, where the werewolf becomes a metaphor for adolescent angst and the search for identity, the creature has proven to be remarkably adaptable. The werewolf's enduring appeal in modern horror lies in its ability to tap into deep-seated fears and anxieties. The fear of losing control, of succumbing to animalistic instincts, of being consumed by darkness, all find expression in the werewolf myth. The creature's transformation, often depicted in graphic detail, serves as a visceral reminder of the fragility of the human condition and the lurking dangers that lie beneath the surface of civilization. Moreover, the werewolf's duality, its blend of human and animal, resonates with the complexities of the human experience. The werewolf's struggle to reconcile its two natures, to maintain its humanity in the face of its animalistic urges, speaks to the internal conflicts and contradictions that we all face. The werewolf, therefore, serves not only as a source of fear and horror, but also as a mirror reflecting the darker aspects of our own selves. Chapter 7: The Legacy of the Werewolf Myth. The werewolf, a creature born from the depths of human imagination, has traversed centuries and continents, leaving an enduring legacy that continues to captivate and terrify. From its ancient roots in folklore and mythology to its modern manifestations in popular culture, the werewolf myth has proven to be remarkably resilient, adapting and evolving to reflect the changing fears, anxieties, and fascinations of each era. This chapter explores the werewolf's lasting impact, examining its influence on popular media, its role in shaping our understanding of fear and the unknown, and its persistent presence in contemporary folklore and urban legends. Werewolves in modern pop culture, from horror to humor. The werewolf's enduring appeal in modern pop culture is a testament to its ability to tap into primal fears and anxieties, while also offering a canvas for exploring complex themes of identity, transformation, and the struggle between the civilized and the wild. From classic horror films like An American Werewolf in London and The Howling, to teen dramas like Teen Wolf and urban fantasy novels like the Mercy Thompson series, the werewolf has been reimagined and reinterpreted in countless ways, reflecting the changing cultural landscape and the diverse interests of audiences. In horror films, the werewolf often serves as a symbol of the monstrous, the embodiment of primal fears and repressed desires. The transformation scene, a staple of the genre, is a visceral spectacle of violence and bodily horror, a visual representation of the loss of control and the unleashing of the beast within. The werewolf's victims, often innocent and unsuspecting, serve as a reminder of the fragility of human life and the lurking dangers that lie beyond the boundaries of civilization. In teen dramas and urban fantasy, the werewolf takes on a more nuanced and often sympathetic role. The transformation, while still fraught with danger and uncertainty, can also represent a coming of age, a discovery of hidden strengths, and a connection to a more primal and authentic self. The werewolf's struggle to reconcile its human and animal natures becomes a metaphor for the challenges of adolescence, the search for identity, and the negotiation of social norms. The werewolf's versatility as a cultural icon is further evident in its presence in comedy and satire. From the classic Mel Brooks film Young Frankenstein to the animated series Scooby-Doo, the werewolf has been lampooned and parodied, its fearsome image subverted for comedic effect. This humorous take on the werewolf, while acknowledging its roots in horror and the supernatural, also serves to diffuse its power, reminding us that even the most terrifying monsters can be subject to ridicule and laughter. Shaping our understanding of fear and the unknown. The werewolf myth, with its enduring presence in popular culture and its ability to tap into primal fears, has played a significant role in shaping our understanding of fear and the unknown. The werewolf, as a creature that blurs the lines between human and animal, civilized and wild, embodies the anxieties that arise from the confrontation with the other, the unfamiliar, and the potentially dangerous. The fear of the werewolf, at its core, is a fear of losing control, of succumbing to animalistic instincts, of being consumed by darkness. It is a fear of the unknown, of the lurking dangers that lie beyond the boundaries of our understanding and control. The werewolf's transformation, often triggered by the full moon, represents a loss of agency, a surrender to forces beyond our comprehension. The werewolf myth also speaks to our anxieties about the natural world and our place within it. The werewolf, as a creature that bridges the gap between human and animal, challenges our notions of human exceptionalism and reminds us of our own vulnerability and dependence on the natural world. The werewolf's connection to the wilderness, its ability to navigate the darkness and the unknown, evokes both awe and fear, reminding us of the power and mystery of the natural world. Contemporary beliefs and urban legends. While the werewolf trials of the past may seem like distant echoes of a more superstitious age, the werewolf myth continues to hold sway in contemporary folklore and urban legends. The belief in werewolves, while no longer as widespread as it once was, persists in certain communities and subcultures, often fueled by anecdotal accounts, personal experiences, and the enduring power of the myth itself. In some rural areas, particularly those with a strong connection to the natural world and a history of wolf encounters, the belief in werewolves remains a part of the local folklore. These beliefs are often intertwined with traditional tales and superstitions, passed down through generations, and serve as a way of explaining unexplained phenomena or reinforcing social norms. In urban settings, the werewolf myth has taken on new forms, adapting to the anxieties and concerns of modern life. Urban legends of werewolves lurking in the shadows of city parks or preying on unsuspecting victims in abandoned buildings tap into the fear of the unknown and the dangers that lurk in the urban landscape. These legends, while often dismissed as mere stories, serve as a reminder of the persistent power of the werewolf myth and its ability to adapt to the changing cultural context. The internet and social media have also played a role in the perpetuation of contemporary werewolf beliefs. Online communities dedicated to werewolves, shape-shifting, and other paranormal phenomena provide a platform for individuals to share their experiences, beliefs, and theories. While some of these accounts may be rooted in genuine experiences or psychological conditions, others are likely fueled by imagination, fantasy, and the desire to belong to a community. The werewolf myth, therefore, continues to exert a powerful influence on the contemporary imagination, serving as a source of fear, fascination, and creative inspiration. Whether through horror films, teen dramas, urban legends, or online communities, the werewolf remains a potent symbol of the unknown, the wild, and the enduring power of the human imagination to confront its deepest fears and anxieties.